Hey there, new graduates. John FARAHMAND from Balanced Physical Therapy. Today, I want to talk to you about 5 things that I want to urge all of you to consider when evaluating a prospective employer. I hope they help you, and I hope you find just the right fit to begin your career. Just to give some new grads some perspective. When you're evaluating different career choices out there and you got all these recruiters after you, got all these prospective employers after you, what do you actually care about? What do you want to know? Or what should or what ought you ask your prospective employer? One of them is production transparency. Some clinics out there are going to expect you to see 80 to 100 visits per week, which is a lot. It's a lot for anybody. And some might argue that it's too much. You can't give quality care that way. And some might argue differently. In our company, for example, we talk about minimum expectations. Our therapists need to be able to see 60 visits per week. If you see 60 visits per week, we absolutely love you. So always ask about production transparency. What are you going to be expected to see on a weekly basis when you're looking at your first job as a doctor of physical therapy? Ask about the clinic's onboarding schedule. Do they have one? What does it look like? What are your expectations? What do they expect from you? What are you going to be taught? How are they going to invest in you right from day one to make sure that you are set up for success? A red flag might be a clinic has absolutely no idea what you're talking about when you ask them about their onboarding process. You might want to scratch your head and go, man, what am I in for? Remember to ask about a clinic's onboarding process. What does it look like, and are they willing to give it to you in writing? Here's what your first week, your second week, your third week, etc. looks like. Try it out. When you're out there evaluating where you're going to begin your career, one of the questions that I encourage you to ask is, what type of mentorship will you receive? I know that you've been on your clinical affiliations during graduate school, but newsflash, it ain't enough. It's just not. It's not enough to get you where you need to be a high-performing physical therapist, particularly in an outpatient clinical environment. So, is the mentorship that the potential clinic that you're going to work with, is it organized? Is it regular? Is it haphazard? Do you have a clinical mentor? Do you have a residency framework, a clinical framework that you can tag along with, etc., etc., etc.? Ask those questions, because you becoming the best possible clinician you can become in the shortest amount of time possible will absolutely supercharge your career and your effectiveness, and therefore your value as a physical therapist. Don't forget to ask about mentorship. One of the questions that is often asked, although it's uncomfortable for most of you, is, how do I make more money and how do I advance my career? And that's a question that all of you ought to consider when you're out there evaluating where you're going to begin. If it's an outpatient clinic, if it's a hospital, if it's a great big, private equity owned firm, etc., etc., etc. But there should be a clear pathway for whoever is interviewing you to answer that question. Okay, in our practice, we have what we call our salary silo sheet. It's an Excel document, and we literally show it to you. 100% transparency. Your initial salary, it's a mutual agreement. We don't know how you're going to work and produce, and you don't know if you're going to like the environment that you're in. So it is important to have transparency when negotiating your salary, but it is even more important to grow as a clinician, to have a clear path to more. So remember to have that conversation with your prospective employer. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some questions you may want to consider when evaluating where you're going to begin your career. And one of them, which is very important, is, will your prospective employer invest in you? Now, what does that mean? Do you want to become a specialist, an OCS, a PCS, a GCS, etc., etc., etc.? Do you want to be a pelvic health therapist? It could go on and on and on. Do you want to participate in marketing? Do you want to be manager of the social media of the company? Any other way that you can think to add value? Is the employer open to having a discussion surrounding those ideas with you? If not, red flag. And if so, awesome. You probably found a great one. Good luck to you.